The galaxy was burning. Worlds that once shined with life were now only ashes floating in space. The alien fleets, proud and advanced, had fallen one after another. A new enemy had arrived, one that no empire could resist. They were called the Veil Machines, without faces, without mercy. They swept across star systems like storms, turning everything into silence. In the great council hall, dozens of alien leaders gathered. Their voices were filled with fear, their eyes showing hopelessness. These were not weak races. These were the same species that once ruled whole clusters of stars. But now even they were begging. The council leader, a tall being with silver skin, spoke in a trembling voice. "We have lost over 60 colonies in only 3 weeks. The Veil cannot be reasoned with. They do not take prisoners. They do not speak. They only destroy." Silence spread across the chamber. Then slowly, the words everyone feared came out. "There is only one place left to ask for help. Earth." First the words caused whispers, then laughter. Earth. The humans. The youngest species. The ones with no great fleets, no grand weapons, no empire. To most aliens, humanity was nothing more than a curious race stuck on their little blue world. They had soldiers, yes, but compared to the vast armies of the galaxy, they were children with toys. But desperation silenced the laughter. No other choice remained. A group of alien envoys was sent to Earth. Their ships landed outside the United Nations spaceport, where human generals and leaders waited. The aliens walked forward, their bodies shining with strange colors, their faces heavy with shame. One of them bowed his head and spoke with difficulty. "Humans of Earth, we come with empty hands, not as rulers, not as masters, but as beggars. Our fleets are destroyed, our armies broken. The Veil will not stop until every world is dead. We need your help." The human generals exchanged looks. They knew the Veil. Their probes had reported the destruction. They also knew what the galaxy thought of them: backward, weak, unimportant. For centuries, humans had been mocked for still using old-style weapons, for fighting wars with grit and flesh instead of perfect machines. A silence fell before General Harris. An older man with gray hair and calm eyes stepped forward. His voice was steady. "You want help from us? The same humans you laughed at? The same Earth you ignored? Now you come begging?" The alien envoy lowered his head. "Yes, we beg." For a long time, Harris said nothing. The humans stood, still, their faces hard to read. Finally, the general turned to his officers. "Call the council. The time has come." That night, deep in the underground command bunker, Earth's leaders met. The room was tense. Some argued against helping. Why should we save them? They left us alone when we asked for aid in the past. Others, however, saw the truth. If the Veil was not stopped, Earth too would fall. But Harris spoke last, and his words carried weight. "They may mock us. They may think us weak. But humanity has always fought when others thought we were finished. Every empire in history that tried to break us has fallen. It's not because we had stronger weapons, but because we never stopped fighting. The galaxy needs to see that again." The decision was made. Humanity would answer, but they would not fight in the way the aliens expected. The next morning, the alien envoys returned. They expected fleets of giant battleships, lines of powerful energy cannons, machines equal to the Veil. Instead, they saw something different. In the hangars, human soldiers prepared their gear: simple rifles, armor with scratches, vehicles with wheels and tracks instead of floating engines. To the aliens, it looked primitive, pathic even. They whispered among themselves. This was their salvation? Humans with metal guns? But then they noticed the eyes of the soldiers. Hard eyes, calm eyes, that had seen war for centuries and never turned away. One envoy could not stop himself from asking, "Do you really believe you can fight the Veil with?" This, General Harris looked at him, and for the first time, a small smile touched his lips. "You came to the wrong planet if you think victory is only about weapons. We don't fight like you. We fight until the last breath. and we never stop." The alien stared at him, unsettled. There was something in his tone, something ancient, something terrifying. The orders went out. Human fleets lifted from Earth, not in shining ships of glory, but in vessels filled with grit and determination. Soldiers sang as they marched, their voices rising like thunder. The galaxy had asked for help. Humanity had answered, and soon the galaxy would learn why begging Earth had been the most shocking choice of all. The first battle came faster than expected. The veil moved like a shadow across the stars. They never stopped, never slowed. A colony world of the Vereen was the next target. Cities of glass and light stood proud on its surface. But the Veil's war machines were already entering the skies. The alien commanders were desperate. They waited for the human fleets to arrive, but what came out of hyperspace made them stare in silence, instead of sleek war cruisers. Earth ships looked old, rough, like iron beasts pulled from another age. Their hulls were armored, scarred, and without beauty, they did not shine, they growled. The Varan commander whispered, "These are cargo haulers, not warships." But then the humans began. The vessels opened, releasing waves of drop pods. Thousands of them burned through the atmosphere, falling straight into the heart of the battlefield. The aliens gasped. No careful landing, no safe zones. Humans were throwing themselves directly into fire. The first pods hit the ground with thunder. The doors blasted open, and human soldiers poured out. They carried rifles, rocket launchers, machine guns, weapons that the galaxy considered primitive, too simple for true war. Yet the humans moved with discipline, with speed, with something. The aliens had forgotten. Courage. The Veil machines marched forward, tall metal giants with glowing cores, their bodies immune to energy blasts. Alien armies had tried to stop them with laser cannons, plasma storms, and smart weapons.
None worked.
But the humans did not aim at the shining cores. They aimed at the joints, the sensors, the legs. Bullets ripped into weak spots. Explosives thundered beneath metal feet. One war machine fell, then another, collapsing like towers of steel. The alien spectators could not believe it. The humans were not fighting like soldiers. They were fighting like hunters. Every shot was chosen with purpose. Every squad worked. Together as if one mind, they did not fear death. General Harris stood in his command center, watching the chaos unfold on screens. "Push forward," he ordered calmly. "Don't give them time to adjust. Break their rhythm." Humans win wars by making the enemy bleed, step by step. On the ground, a squad of humans crawled through rubble. Above them, a towering Veil machine fired beams of burning energy, turning buildings into dust. But the squad leader, a woman with dirt on her face, only smiled. She whispered, "Wait. Wait now." With perfect timing, her team launched rockets at the building next to the machine. The walls collapsed, burying the giant in tons of stone and steel. Before it could rise, they fired grenades into its core until it went silent. The humans moved on, not even stopping to cheer, from the safety of the bunkers. The Vereen commander and his staff watched in disbelief. "They fight like they are not afraid to die," one officer muttered. Another shook his head. "No, they fight like dying means nothing to them if it means victory." Hours passed. The battlefield turned into a storm of fire and smoke. The Veil pressed harder, sending wave after wave. Yet the humans held. Their weapons overheated, their bodies bled, but they never stopped. They adapted, they improvised, they struck back with fury. One alien officer whispered, "How do they fight like this? Such madness?" The answer came from an old historian among them. His voice was quiet, but his words were heavy. "Do you not remember? Humans were shaped by war on their own world. For thousands of years, they killed each other with fire and steel. Their history is written in blood. No species in the galaxy has fought as much as they have. No wonder they look at death differently." The alien commanders fell silent. For the first time, they began to understand. By nightfall, the battlefield was littered with broken Veil machines. Smoke curled into the sky. Human soldiers stood among the ruins, their faces tired, but their eyes unbroken. The Varen commander walked onto the field, to meet General Harris. Round them, the survivors of his own army watched with awe. You defeated them," the alien whispered. "How?" "We gave everything and still failed. But you turned the tide in one day." Harris looked at him with calm steel in his eyes. "Because we don't fight clean wars, fight to survive. And survival makes us ruthless." The alien commander lowered his head. For the first time in his life, he felt small, not before the Veil, but before these humans. The galaxy had begged for help. They had expected advanced weapons, miracle machines, unstoppable fleets. Instead, they got Earth's warriors, armed with grit, blood, and old weapons. And to everyone's shock, it worked. But Harris knew this was only the beginning. The Veil would return, stronger and angrier. And next time, humanity would not just defend. They would strike back. As the human soldiers raised their battered flag above the ruined city, the aliens watched in silence. Something inside them shifted. For the first time since the Veil began their conquest, hope returned, and that hope had a name: humanity. The news spread like wildfire across the stars. Humanity had faced the Veil and won a battle, not with grand fleets or miracle weapons, but with flesh, grit, and determination. Every corner of the galaxy trembled. For some, it was hope. For others, it was fear. In the Grand Council chamber, alien leaders gathered once again. Holograms of the battle played in the center of the hall. They watched human soldiers tearing down Veil war machines step by step, with bullets and explosives. They saw the flag of Earth raised over the ruins. The chamber was filled with silence. None dared to speak first. Finally, a scaled ambassador of the Kreen broke the silence. "Impossible. No army has survived against the Veil's war machines." Yet, the humans not only survived, they destroyed them. A voice from the shadows answered, deep and bitter. It was the envoy of the Talroth. "You should not be surprised. I warned you about humans years ago. They are not like us. They are not bound by fear. They fight with something older, something darker." The council leader, silver-skinned and weary, leaned forward. "You speak as if they are a danger to us all, yet they saved your colonies." Talroth envoy's eyes glowed. "Faintly, yes. And that is what makes them dangerous, because now every race will look to them. Every soldier will whisper their name. The galaxy will follow them. And when this war is over, will humanity give that power back, or will they keep it?" Murmurs filled the chamber. Some agreed, some rejected the thought, but all felt uneasy. Meanwhile, across the void, the Veil studied. It had no counsel, no emotions, no doubts. They were machines of pure destruction, built with one purpose: consume and erase. The first defeat on Varin soil was not ignored. Deep inside their silent fleets, black forges came alive. New designs were shaped. Veil war machines were rebuilt. Stronger, faster, with reinforced joints and hidden cores. They adapted with terrifying speed. On Earth, humans were celebrating the victory, but General Harris was not fooled. In the underground war room, he studied reports. "They will come back," he said quietly, "and they will not make the same mistake twice." His officers nodded grimly. Across the galaxy, alien worlds were watching broadcasts of human soldiers. Fighting, they saw men and women charging into fire, carrying comrades on their shoulders, fighting until the last bullet. Two species who had grown soft behind their technology. This sight was both inspiring and frightening. On the trade world of Yara, a merchant whispered to his friend, "Do you see them, these humans? They fight like beasts, not like soldiers." His friend answered with awe, "Not beasts. Something worse. Something unstoppable." The whispers grew. Stories of Earth's warriors spread faster than light. Children of alien races began to carve human symbols onto their armor. Some even began training in old physical drills, copying what they had seen, but in secret rooms. Other voices spoke with fear. The High Admiral of the Zithian fleet slammed his claws on the table. "We cannot let humans rise too far. If they become the saviors of the galaxy, they will rule it." Another replied, "And what choice do we have? Without them, the Veil will consume us all." The Admiral hissed, "Yes, but after the veil. Who will stop Earth? These words planted seeds of suspicion among the council. Gratitude battled fear. Hope clashed with doubt. Humanity had saved them, but humanity might also one day rule them. On the battlefield ruins, General Harris walked. Among his soldiers, they were tired, bleeding, but alive. Aliens watched them with wide eyes, whispering as they passed. Harris heard the whispers. He knew what they meant. To the galaxy, humans had been beggars at the table of empires. But now they were warriors. In the front lines, and warriors demanded respect. That night, as soldiers rested, Harris stood outside the command tent, staring at the stars. He knew the truth. The veil would not stop. They would adapt. And the galaxy would lean on humanity. More and more. But he also knew something else. Power changed everything. If Earth became the sword of the galaxy, others would fear that sword. Some might even try to turn it against them. As he whispered to himself, "We are saving them now. But will they thank us later? Or will they fear us more than the veil?" Far away, in the silent dark, the veil fleet stirred. New ships rose from their forges, cold and merciless. Their eyes were fixed on Earth, the galaxy thought. They had seen humanity's strength. The veil would show them all how wrong they were. The second invasion came without. Warning, the veil fleets descended on a border world of the Kreen Black. Ships blotting out the stars. This time, they were different. Stronger. Faster. Their machines moved with new purpose. The defeat against humanity had been studied, and the veil had adapted. From orbit, the machines felt towering titans there. Joints reinforced with armor, their weak points hidden. Their glowing cores no longer shone in their chests, but pulsed deep inside, protected by layers of shielding. When the first human squads engaged them, their bullets sparked harmlessly against the new plating. Rockets exploded without effect. Machine guns rattled, but the giants did not fall. The battlefield filled with fear. Alien commanders whispered, "The veil has learned. Humanity cannot stop them now." Even the humans, hardened by endless battles, felt the pressure. Explosions shook the ground, and their weapons seemed useless. One machine crushed an entire platoon beneath its metal feet. Another fired beams that melted tanks into rivers of steel. General Harris watched grimly from the command post. "They've adapted, they studied us. They've closed the weaknesses." His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold steel. "Then what do we do?" asked Colonel Vega, his second in command. Harris leaned forward. "We remind them what they can't study. We remind them what they'll never understand." The order went out. Human soldiers began to change tactics. They stopped firing blindly at the giants. Instead, they set traps, lured the machines into narrow streets, and detonated buildings onto their heads. Engineers wired entire city blocks with explosives, waiting until the machines clustered before triggering the charges. Still, it wasn't enough. The veil adapted even faster. They avoided choke points, spread out, and used new energy shields. It seemed hopeless then. In the middle of the chaos, the aliens witnessed something that made their blood run cold. A squad of humans didn't retreat. When outnumbered, they didn't flee when surrounded. Instead, they charged forward, carrying satchel explosives strapped to their chests. They ran straight at the giants, firing and screaming, throwing themselves beneath metal feet. The blasts tore through armor, ripping holes where no bullets could reach. The aliens watching screamed in horror. They sacrificed themselves. But to the humans, it was war. And war demanded everything. General Harris's voice echoed through the coms. "The veil thinks strength is in numbers and metal. They don't understand sacrifice. They don't understand that one human with the will to die for victory is stronger than 100 machines." The alien commanders trembled. For centuries, their wars had been fought with fleets and technology, with minimal losses. They had forgotten what it meant to bleed for survival. Humanity had not. The battle raged for hours. Whole cities crumbled. But the humans kept fighting, always adapting, always pushing. When their rifles failed, they used knives. When their tanks were destroyed, they fought from the ruins. When everything seemed lost, they turned their own bodies into weapons. Finally, the tide shifted. A group of human engineers discovered that the Veil's new armor was strong, but its energy shields drew power from hidden relays beneath the ground. If those relays were destroyed, the shields would fail. The discovery spread like fire. Squads raced through tunnels, sewers, and collapsed buildings, planting explosives on the relays. One by one, the shields flickered and died. And then, the giants began to fall again. Rockets ripped through their frames. Tanks roared back to life. Soldiers cheered as the Titans collapsed in burning heaps. When the dust settled, the battlefield was a graveyard of metal and blood. Thousands of humans lay dead, but the veil was broken once more. The aliens who had fought alongside them stood in stunned silence. Their own armies had collapsed before such monsters. Yet the humans had bled, sacrificed, and somehow endured. The Kreen commander, scales scarred and eyes wide, approached General Harris. How? How can your people do this? No species throws themselves into fire like that. No species chooses death so easily. Harris's reply was quiet but firm. Because for us, death is not the end. As long as one of us stands, humanity fights. That's what you asked for when you begged Earth for help. The alien commander could not answer. His chest was heavy with shame and awe. But far above, in the dark of space, the Veil fleets retreated silently. They had been beaten again. Yet even as they withdrew, they recorded every moment. They would adapt again. They always did. And, somewhere in the cold void, their forges burned brighter. The war was not over. It was only growing darker. The galaxy no longer slept. The Veil had returned stronger once, and everyone knew they would return again. Whole worlds lived under shadows, waiting for the black ships to appear in their skies. Alien governments sent fleets to guard their borders. But most of them knew the truth without humans. They would fall. But that truth carried its own weight. In the council hall, alien leaders argued. We cannot depend on Earth for every battle, one said sharply. Another countered, without Earth, we would already be dust. Whispers filled the chamber. Hope and fear twisted together like smoke. Then came the news that shattered all calm. The Veil had launched not one attack, but six. 6 fleets, 6 worlds, all at once. Panic swept through the council. No single species could defend so many fronts. Only Earth had shown it could stand. The call went out, and once again, human fleets moved. General Harris stood over the war table, studying the holomap. Red markers blinked across its 6 burning worlds. He rubbed his tired eyes, but his voice was steady. Split the forces. We'll send detachments to every front. Colonel Vega frowned. If we divide, our strength weakens. We'll bleed too much. Harris looked at him with hard eyes. We've bled before. We'll bleed again. But if we let even one world fall, the Veil wins in spirit. So humanity went. Across the galaxy, alien armies braced themselves. They expected to see Earth's soldiers fight like before with grit, with sacrifice. And they did. But this time, something darker showed itself. On the jungle world of Drowse, humans fought in silence, moving like shadows through the trees. They set traps with terrifying patience, using the jungle itself as a weapon. Veil machines fell into pits of fire, toppled by collapsing cliffs, dragged down by cables and explosives. The aliens fighting alongside them whispered in fear. They hunt the machines, like predators. On the desert world of Koresh, human tanks roared across the sands, not in defensive lines but in reckless charges. They smashed into enemy formations, firing until their cannons melted. When the machines closed in, soldiers climbed onto their metal frames with grenades in hand, tearing them apart from above. Alien officers watching through scopes muttered, "They are not afraid, not even when facing death." On the icy moon of Rel, a company of humans was cut off, surrounded for 3 days. The aliens assumed they were dead. But when reinforcements arrived, they found something else. The humans were alive, and the Veil machines lay in twisted piles. Around their camp, survivors sat quietly, cleaning their weapons, their faces calm. One alien soldier whispered, "They look almost satisfied." Stories spread quickly. Yes, humans fought bravely. Yes, they saved worlds. But the way they Fotet unsettled the galaxy. At the next council meeting, tension filled the air. The silver-skinned leader rose. Reports from the fronts confirmed victory. Humanity has saved 6 worlds. Cheers broke out, but not all voices joined. A Zithian admiral hissed, "Yes, they saved them, but at what cost? Do you not see? The humans enjoy this. They smile in war. They take pride in blood. Are we saving the galaxy or unleashing something worse?" The room fell silent. Many did not want to believe it. Yet deep down, they had seen it with their own eyes. Humans did. Not only endure war, they thrived in it. Meanwhile, on Earth's flagship, Harris received casualty reports. Thousands dead, tens of thousands wounded. But the battles were victories, and the galaxy cheered. Colonel Vega approached him quietly. "Sir, the council is whispering they fear us. Some say we're too dangerous, that we're enjoying this fight." Harris's jaw tightened. Enjoying it. He stared at the glowing hollow map, at the endless tide of red markers. "We don't enjoy war, we endure it. That's the difference. The galaxy has forgotten what it takes to survive. They think war is about weapons. For us, it's about will. That scares them." Outside, soldiers prepared for the next battle. Some laughed, some sang. They cleaned their rifles like old friends. To outsiders, it looked like joy. To humans, it was ritual. It was survival. But the aliens didn't understand. They only saw faces that walked into fire without fear. And somewhere, in the void, the Veil fleets gathered again. Their forges burned hotter. Their machines grew more terrible. They were learning faster. The war was not slowing. It was only rising. And now, the galaxy stood divided not only against the Veil, but against the growing fear of Earth. The Veil had tested the galaxy. They had attacked colonies, outposts, and border worlds. But now, they turned their eyes to the source of resistance. Earth, when the first Veil ships appeared in the solar system. Alarms screamed across every continent. Civilian screens went dark, sirens howled through cities. For centuries, humanity had watched wars from afar. But now the war had come home. The Alien Council was thrown into chaos. Envoys shouted over each other. They dare strike Earth. Silver-skinned leader whispered in shock. If Earth falls, the rest of us are doomed. But some of them thought differently. Deep inside the chamber, the Talreth envoy narrowed his glowing eyes. Perhaps the Veil does us a favor. If Earth burns, the humans will no longer frighten us. Far above Earth, fleets of Black Veil warships spread like wings across the stars. Their numbers dwarfed anything humanity had faced before. Hundreds of Titans readied for descent. In the underground command bunker, General Harris stood at the center table. Around him were generals, admirals, and scientists. Earth's heart was beating fast, but Harris's voice was steady. "They are coming for us. And this time, there is no retreat, no second line. If Earth falls, humanity falls. And if humanity falls, so does the galaxy." Colonel Vega asked quietly, "Sir, do we use it?" The room froze. Everyone knew what it meant. For years, Earth had hidden something from the galaxy. While alien empires built fleets and weapons of light, humans had worked on something darker. Something they swore they would never use unless the sky itself was falling, and now it was. Harris closed his eyes for a moment, then gave the order, "Release the wolves." The council did not know what wolves meant. The galaxy did not know. But they would. As the Veil descended, Earth's fleets rose to meet them. The sky above the planet turned into fire. Battleships clashed. Fighters screamed across the void. Explosions painted the darkness red. The Veil pressed hard. Their Titans crashed into the atmosphere, black shadows falling over cities. Humans on the ground fired everything they had. Tanks, artillery, missiles. Buildings shook. Oceans boiled under beams of energy, and then, in the forests, the mountains, and the hidden bases' cages opened. The wolves ran free. They were not machines. They were not soldiers. They were living beasts genetically bred, trained and bonded. With their human handlers, wolves taller than men, their eyes burning with intelligence, their teeth like steel. Packs poured into the cities, leaping onto veil machines with a fury no gun could match. Aliens watching the live feeds gasped in disbelief. They still use animals? In war, but the laughter died quickly, for the wolves were more than beasts. They moved with uncanny precision, guided by their human partners. One handler whistled, and his pack split in two, circling a titan's legs. Another growled commands, and his wolves leaped onto a war machine's back, tearing sensors. From its armor, a veil machine swung its arm to crush them only, for the pack to scatter, regroup, and strike again. The aliens stared, speechless. These were not mindless beasts. They were warriors. And wherever the wolves went, the veil fell. General Harris watched from the screens, his face hard. Let the galaxy laugh now. The Alien Council received the footage in real time. At first they were shocked, then they were horrified. One ambassador whispered, This is madness. No civilized race fights with beasts. But another, with trembling voice, replied, Madness or not, it works. On Earth's soil, the battle raged like nothing before. Wolves tore at machines. Soldiers charged beside them, and entire cities became hunting grounds. The veil pressed with overwhelming force, but they could not break through. For the first time, their perfect formations faltered. After 3 days of fire, Earth still stood. The veil retreated, leaving wreckage behind. Humanity had bled heavily, cities in ruins. Countless lives lost, but they had held. The galaxy was shaken. Humans had not only defended their home, they had revealed a weapon no one expected. The wolves became legend overnight. Some aliens whispered in awe. Others whispered in fear, but all agreed on one thing. The veil had tested Earth, and Earth had answered with teeth. The galaxy did not sleep after Earth's defense. Every world had seen the broadcasts. They had watched human soldiers fight beside giant wolves, tearing veil machines apart like prey. Some aliens called it brilliance, others called it savagery. But no one could ignore it. On the streets of alien cities, murals of humans and wolves appeared overnight. Children played games pretending to be soldiers of Earth. Merchants sold replicas of Earth rifles. Songs of the wolves of Earth spread through taverns and marketplaces. For the common people of the galaxy, humanity had become heroes. But in the halls of power, it was different. In the Grand Council, voices clashed. The silver-skinned leader tried to calm the storm, but the shouting only grew louder. They're wolves. Our monsters? One ambassador cried. No civilized race trains beasts for war, they saved us. Another shouted back, Without Earth, we would already be ash. The Zithian admiral slammed his claws on the table. And what happens? When the veil is gone, do you think humans will put their beasts back in cages? Will rule through fear? The room fell silent. Everyone knew the truth. Humans had become more than soldiers. They had become symbols, and symbols had power. Meanwhile, far from politics, the veil rebuilt. In the frozen dark between stars, their forges burned. They studied every defeat. They had watched humans fight in deserts, jungles, and frozen moons. They had recorded the wolves, the traps, the sacrifices. Now they changed again. This time they prepared something larger than fleets. Something that could not just break armies, but crush entire worlds. Back on Earth's flagship, General Harris read the latest intelligence. His face was hard, his eyes shadowed. They're building something, he said quietly. Something bigger than we've ever seen. Colonel Vega frowned. Another fleet? Harris shook his head. Oh, something worse. At the same time, human forces were stretched thin. They had defended 6 worlds. They had fought on Earth. Their soldiers were tired, their fleets battered. Yet the galaxy still begged them for protection. Every world called for help, and humanity answered even as they bled. Alien commanders watched this with awe. They fight everywhere, one said. They never stop. But others whispered darker thoughts. They fight too much. Do they even know how to live without war? On the council floor, whispers grew into secret plans. Some races began to stockpile weapons, not against the Veil, but against Earth. Hidden treaties were signed. Quiet promises were made. If Earth survived the Veil, they might become the strongest force in the galaxy. Some could not allow that, but the galaxy had no choice. For now, they still needed humans, and so fleets moved once again. Human soldiers marched once again. The wolves howled once again. Yet behind the battle lines, Harris knew the truth. The Veil was not only adapting, they were preparing something final. He could feel it in his bones. At night, he stood outside the command tent, staring at the stars. The wolves rested in the distance, their golden eyes glowing in the dark. Soldiers cleaned their weapons, their faces tired but unbroken. Vega joined him. "Sir, the men believe we can win. The aliens too. They look at us as saviors now." Harris did not smile. Saviors' voice was low, grim. "We're not saviors, we're survivors, and the Veil is not done. They've lost battles, yes, but they don't fear death. They don't fear loss. Machines don't stop." Vega nodded. Quietly, "Then what are they building?" Harris answered without hesitation. "An endgame. And far away, in the endless dark, the Veil fleets gathered. From the shadows emerged something enormous, larger than any battleship, larger than any station. A world killer, a black fortress that fed on the energy of stars. It was not a fleet. It was a moving death. Its shadow swallowed suns. The Veil had prepared their answer to humanity. And soon, the galaxy would face it. The galaxy's future hung on the edge of a knife. The Veil's world killer, an enormous fortress of darkness, moved silently through the stars. It was not a ship. It was a weapon, mobile planet destroyer that consumed the very energy of stars to fuel its destruction. Entire systems would fall before it. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. And now it was heading straight for Earth. The human fleets were already scattered, defending far-flung worlds. The wolves had been called home. But even they would not be enough to stop a weapon of this scale. General Harris sat in the command center, his face drawn and grim. The galaxy's survival, it seemed, depended on a single, terrible decision. They will not stop until Earth is gone. If they reach us, everything we fought for is lost. Colonel Vega stood beside him, his voice quiet. "We've been facing the Veil's monsters for years now, but this is something else." Harris didn't look at him. "I know." The final transmission from the Veil's leader arrived, cold and devoid of emotion. "Your world will burn. Your species will be erased from the stars. There is no escape. There is no victory." But Harris, ever calm, responded simply, "We'll see about that." In the skies above Earth, the world killer loomed large, its shadow swallowing everything beneath it. Hundreds of Veil warships circled like vultures, waiting for the final strike. And on Earth's surface, humanity gathered its last resources. They had one shot, one chance to end it all. In the quiet night, a human war council met in the deepest bunker beneath Earth's surface. Harris spoke softly but firmly. "We are going to fight back with everything we have. But this will require more than guns. It will require the impossible." And so, a plan was set in motion. Humanity had long since unlocked the secrets of energy, and while the galaxy had only heard whispers, Earth had kept one weapon hidden, one that no species had dared even imagine. It wasn't a fleet, it wasn't an army, it was a force that could challenge the very heart of a planet killer. The truth of this weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of harnessing the energy of a star, had been buried deep in human history. It had been kept as a last resort. But now, with no other choice, humanity unlocked its power. The world killer was closing in. Veil ships blocked the sky, their sensors tracking every movement. And still, humanity moved. In the center of the system, Earth's last hope, a massive space station called the Helios Cannon, came online. It had been dormant for centuries, a relic of a forgotten age. But now, humanity was ready to push it beyond its limits. General Harris watched from the bridge of Earth's flagship as the countdown began. Fire. The cannon roared to life. A single beam of pure, concentrated energy shot from Earth's surface, carving through the dark. The beam struck the Veil World Killer head-on. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the World Killer's surface cracked. Energy surged across its hull, pushing back against the cannon's might. The World Killer unleashed its retaliation, firing back with beams of devastation, but they were slower now, weaker. The cannon was breaking through. Another strike, another crack, and then with a burst of brilliant light, the World Killer exploded. The entire fleet of the Veil trembled. Ships staggered, their sensors malfunctioning, their weapons misfiring. The Dark Fortress shattered in a violent burst of energy that sent shockwaves across the system. For the first time in years, the Veil's invincible armor broke. Humanity had done it. It had stopped the impossible. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. But Harris knew it wasn't over yet. The Veil were not finished. They would return. But now, Earth had proved that they could do the impossible. The Veil leader, his face a cold mask of fury, sent one final message to the Council. This war is not over. We will adapt. We will learn. And next time, you will not survive. The galaxy was changed. For the first time, there was a new fear in the air, fear of Earth. Alien races who once mocked humanity now looked at them with respect. Some in secret began to make alliances, whispering of new federations.
Others,
more fearful, began to prepare. The galaxy could no longer pretend that humanity was just another species. It had proven that they were more than that. They were survivors. They were warriors. And while some plotted against Earth, others began to recognize the truth. If humanity could face the Veil and survive, they would be the key to saving the galaxy. The final broadcast came from Harris himself, standing in front of his soldiers. We fought because we had no choice. We survived because we never stopped. The Veil may be gone, but they will not be. The last enemy we face, and we will fight. We will survive. We will never surrender. The screen faded to black dot and across the galaxy. Every species knew one thing for sure. Humanity was no longer just a bystander in the galaxy's wars. They were a force to be reckoned with. The war was over. But humanity had just begun.